An American army is fighting for you.
1941, a date which will live.
Note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima.
These forces met their match.
We have declared the war in Vietnam.
But we don't plan to surrender either.
We are going to win.
Proportions and would lead to World War III.
Allied air forces began an attack on military targets.
That in the 21st century that America...
March 5th, 2052, the United States has officially closed.
The United States will go ahead with a national quarantine. The new plague virus.
Disaster sweeping the collapse of the United Nations.
Right here, pull over. All right, ain't nothing in there.
War never changes. It was the inevitable result of the path humanity had chosen. Everyone who entered into the conflict expected victory. Everyone was optimistic. But as the hostilities escalated, optimism faded, and society began to collapse. The great vaults were built to house the wealthy, the powerful, the influential, and those deemed necessary to their survival. Inside, resources and technology were stockpiled, a final defense against the coming Holocaust. With the past behind them and the present destroyed, they looked to the future. The sturdy Vault Zero was to be the nucleus of the Vault network, housing the greatest leaders, artists, and scientists. The inhabitants of Vault Zero were to reunite the vaults and lead the people to a new life, a new world. But after the bombs, the world would be a harsh one. To ensure the creation of a post-nuclear utopia, the Vault dwellers would need help. Machinery was constructed to tame a land hardened by the ravages of war, then tempered by nuclear winter. But plans were barely in place when the first missiles left the silos. During the destruction, communication between the vaults ceased. Entire vaults were lost. Those that survived were on their own. Not all vaults succumbed to the machinations of war. On North America's west coast, one group of military vault dwellers emerged almost unscathed. They surveyed the wasteland and squared their shoulders for the task ahead. These dedicated survivors salvaged the technology from the vaults, technology that was studied, replicated, and fiercely guarded. For they knew that while their power came from numbers, their future lay in scientific knowledge. In time, they formed the Brotherhood of Steel. The Brotherhood used their knowledge to drive back the atrocities of the wasteland, proclaiming themselves the technological saviors of mankind. They scoured the land in search of more technology, raiding mutant camps, bandit towns, and the broken remains of other vaults. But even they could not keep pace with the high tolls demanded by life in the wasteland. The Brotherhood found themselves at odds with their need for new blood versus their code of technological secrecy. The debate was lengthy. Finally, the elders ruled against sharing the technology with outsiders, convinced that they would endure as they had before. Further discussion was discouraged, and the elders ordered the minority on a mission across the wastes. Super mutants, the foot soldiers of a conquered army, had been forced into a retreat across the mountainous barrier to the east. The Brotherhood constructed airships and dispatched the minority to track down and assess the extent of the remaining super mutant threat. But disaster struck while crossing the Great Mountains. A great storm gripped the main airship and flung it far from its course. The mighty ship was badly damaged. The smaller sections were torn from the main craft, never to be seen again. Many of the expedition's leaders were lost to the winds. The fraction of the crew that still survived struggled to keep their ship aloft before finally crashing on the outskirts of a once thriving metropolis, a city once called Chicago. Broken, scattered, and scarred, they took stock of the situation and once again squared their shoulders to the task ahead. The Brotherhood had much to offer the surrounding villages. They traded advanced medicines in exchange for food and labor. They traded protection from bandits in exchange for new recruits. In time, their ranks began to swell. Separated by distance and ideology from the main Brotherhood forces, the minority was free to forge a new Brotherhood of Steel, one that reflected the ideals they had strived for all along. However, one's future in the wasteland is never certain, for an old power has awakened, also bent on making this land its own. Life in the Brotherhood is about to change.
We are one of these new recruits, and here we create our character. We can choose between 5 pre-made characters. 3 men, Mick, a guy who's not very bright, but he's good with a weapon, which is why the Brotherhood accepted him. Snake, an exiled thief whom the Brotherhood rescued from certain death. And Peter, the son of a tribal doctor whose tribe was wiped out by raiders. Or we could choose between 2 women, Betty, a beautiful and gifted markswoman, and Wilma, an assassin good at stealth and martial arts. A nice Flintstones reference there. Or we can create our own character from scratch. We can choose from a number of portraits and customize our character's sprite. I decided to mod my game slightly, and I created my own preset, Oxhorn. Oxhorn once found the perfect place for a Mirelurk den. Inside, he failed to loot a perfectly preserved pie from a Porta diner, and then killed the Mirelurks with Thump Thump and a shotgun, one in each hand. When the Brotherhood heard the tale, they forcibly recruited him. I gave him better than average charisma, intelligence, and agility, which should allow him to recruit more members into the Brotherhood and be pretty good with small arms and big guns. I tagged the gifted and fast shot traits and chose small guns, big guns, and doctor as my tagged skills. Even though we can customize our character's backstory, there's one thing that doesn't change. We are still a new recruit of the Brotherhood. And now it's time for the Brotherhood to test us by sending us out on our first mission.
Ten hut! All right, you mutated redneck green-skinned sacks of irradiated flesh, listen up! I am Paladin Rychek. I am in charge of training you backward maggots in the art of war and survival. In my time in the Brotherhood, I have personally trained more than 50 initiates, and I am proud to say almost 14 of them are still alive and kicking. The elders have ordered me to mold you flabby, hip-slapping, berry-picking, rat-rubbing Brahmin kissers into capable warriors. And I am going to do it, even if it kills you. I will teach you how to eat, sleep, walk, talk, shoot, spit like a Brotherhood soldier. First level of training will be recruitment detail. You'll go to the surrounding villages and see what able-bodied primates are ready for an honest life's work. It is your duty to remind the village elders that if they want continued protection from the scum of this world, they will uphold their end of the bargain by providing resources and their best and brightest for Brotherhood training. Now get your weak-kneed, superstitious, soft-skinned, uneducated butts to the armory. You will be issued basic weapons and armor. There are 3 simple rules to follow with Brotherhood equipment. If you damage your weapon, you will spend a week in the box. If you damage your armor, you will spend a week in the box. If you lose either, I'll kill you myself. And one final thing, ladies. Welcome to the Brotherhood of Steel.
At ease, Initiate. My name is General Barnaky. I will be giving you your orders before every mission. But before that, I'd like to personally welcome you aboard. Considering that the Brotherhood basic training attrition rate is 85%, you should be very proud of yourself. Now, on to business. 2 nights ago, raiders invaded the resource-rich tribal village of Brahmin. Their losses have been heavy, and they are now ready to accept the Brotherhood's conditions for protection. We will return their lands and rescue these primitive people in exchange for food and a portion of their older children for new recruits. We must expand our ranks to meet our objectives, which makes every village count. I don't know what is driving the raiders this close to our base of operations, but they have been punishing the surrounding area. Brahmin is one of many villages that is now occupied by raiders. The inhabitants that did not escape have been slain or imprisoned. Make no mistake, Initiate, they have killed a fair amount of our brothers. Do not underestimate them. You will take your squad to Brahmin, locate and eliminate the leader of the group of raiders. Once he is removed, his followers will surely fall into disarray. You will then use the Brotherhood's superior might and intellect to butcher the remaining criminals. This is a standard assault mission, so consult the map in your Pip-Boy for the latest intelligence on the area. One more thing, warrior. You must ensure that the village elder survives. He is the key to our plans for this town. According to the local tribal custom, he alone deals with outsiders. Without him, we can have no agreement with the rest of the tribe. Dismiss!
Despite being an initiate, we are the leader of a brand new squad. At the moment, we have 2 members in our squad. The first is Farsight. She is a sniper, and she comes equipped with a hunting rifle. The next is Stitch. He is a doctor, and he comes equipped with a pump shotgun. He is not very good at combat, and so I decided to do a little bit of inventory swapping. We arrive with an SMG, a scalpel, which actually looks like an X-Acto knife, and a variety of consumables. Both Farsight and Stitch have pistols on their inventory, and so I swapped out Stitch's pump-action shotgun for a 9mm M9FS Beretta, and I gave the shotgun to Oxhorn. We find ourselves in some ruins bordered by a fence to the southeast. Just north of us, we find a number of tribals cowering in the ruins. Standing by a campfire, we find the village elder muttering about choosing between the lesser of 2 evils.
Greetings to the Brotherhood of Steel. You are speaking with Charon, elder and tribal father to Brahmin. You have arrived none too soon. Our village has fallen to raiders who rode out of the darkness. Some of my people escaped death or bondage by fleeing into the wasteland, but without tools and shelter. This must be the doing of the Brahmin god of fate. With the bandits we trade away our present. In the Brotherhood we trade away our future. Very well, Initiate. I fully agree to your terms, but I fear this decision will haunt me till I reach the eternal grazing field in the heavens. Our villages are being held prisoner in the camp. Save them, and you will have more people to aid your cause. Lose them, and you will be cutting Brahmin from your own herd.
So that's what he meant by talking about choosing between the lesser of two evils. The Brotherhood is here to save his tribe, but at a hefty price. Looks like if we save these tribals, some of them can join us in the Brotherhood. We find a chasm blocking off our passage to the north. Moving west, we see that the chasm wraps all the way around, which leaves a road and a bridge crossing north, our only path forward. Crossing the gorge and arriving on the other side of the bridge, we immediately get attacked by raiders from the west. And then a raider dog and more raiders attack from the northeast. Farsight was doing her best, but Oxhorn's shotgun wasn't doing very well, so I raced forward. There was another raider that snuck into the ruins to the east. After a while, he emerges, and we can chase him down. Our first battle came as a surprise, and Oxhorn was a bit worse for wear, but this gives us an opportunity to test out Stitch's medicinal abilities. Placing a doctor's kit in his active item slot, we can use it on Oxhorn to heal him up. The road continues to the north. We can loot the body of the raider. He has a pistol, a baseball bat, and some ammunition. But then the road ends at a fence. This entire eastern section of the ruins is blocked in by a fence. This forces us back around towards the west. Here we can tiptoe through some rocky terrain and loot the corpses of the other raiders we killed a moment ago. On one body we find a Colt 45 with ammunition and a switchblade. On another body we find a pipe pistol, or a zip gun, as it's called here, with a shiv and more ammunition. Continuing east, we find two structures and a series of sandbag barricades. Then to the south, we find more ruins. Moving south first, we discover somebody lurking in the ruins. These appear to be the tribals that the elder was talking about, those that fled north. Here we find the tribal shaman.
Greetings, hero. I have foreseen your coming since the first eve of troubles. I am Hawkeye, spirit walker and soothsayer for my people. I guard the passage to the spirit world for the living. However, the waking world has turned against my people, and they have been scattered to the sands. You must speak with Charon, our elder. He speaks for our people in the waking world. I guard the secrets of the sunless lands. I cannot help you further.
Right. Looks like he's not going to be much of a help, but maybe we can come back and chat with him later. Moving north, we pass by a bunch of barrels and broken crates, garbage scattering the ground, to arrive at the entrance to the two buildings and a maze of sandbag barricades. Our perception tells us that there is one raider in the nearby guard shack. I positioned Farsight directly in front of the door, and then I lured him out of the shack by sending Oxhorn to charge forward with a shotgun. This guard had a broken bottle, ammunition, and an SMG on his inventory. Inside the guard shack, we find one chest, and in the chest we find 3 stim packs, hunting rifle ammunition, and a house key. Unlike with Fallout 1 and 2, it's difficult to see what you can interact with and loot in Fallout Tactics. Red or yellow borders don't appear around things that we can interact with, so we kind of just gotta click around and guess. If we can interact with something, our mouse cursor will change from a yellow movement icon to a green or gold crosshair. we discover 2 beer bottles lying on the ground that we can pick up. There is a skeleton chained to a wall in a corner, but nothing else we can interact with. Moving southwest, we can head through the second door. We find that it's locked, but the key we got in the chest unlocks this door. We open it to find 2 raiders to the northwest, one on the other side of a wall. As soon as we enter, he crouches down, while the other goes prone in the corner. I moved far side behind a wall, and then raced forward with Oxhorn. The guy in the corner tried to run away, but he didn't get very far. The other raider, standing on the other side of the wall, appeared to forget about us, so we were able to sneak out. I then sent Oxhorn around the corner to point blank him with my shotgun. But then we get rushed by a guard dog from the west. But again, he was no match for my shotgun. The raider hiding on the other side of this wall had an upgraded shotgun with shells and ammunition. The first raider we killed in the hut had a simple pistol and ammunition. I then moved Stitch inside to loot the containers. We find a shelf with 3 stim packs, and that's it. We can't interact with anything else in the building. Moving out of the house, we find the south and east blocked to us. We have to move west. Immediately west of the house, we find a tent. Inside is empty, save for 1 shelf. In the shelf, we find some healing powder and voodoo, which is new to the Fallout universe. Voodoo is a tribal concoction made from the leftover byproducts of various critters. It imbues the user with greater agility and a sense of invincibility. Bound to come in handy. Moving out of the tent, we fully explore the west to find it fenced off. So moving north, we discover a dog kennel, and everyone in the kennel is sleeping, both guard dogs and their handler. The shotgun took care of the dogs in 1 shot. Then creeping up to the handler. The dogs' inventories are empty. I haven't found anything on animals so far. But on the handler, we find another shotgun, more shotgun shells, stim packs, and pistol ammunition. We find mangled bodies in the corner of the kennel and animal skins hung to dry. Looks like this is the raw meat they were feeding their dogs. We can only hope it wasn't human. We can open a gate to the east to leave the kennels and arrive at a Brahmin pasture. The Brahmin all look thin and sickly. Some of them are even wounded. To the east, we find a large building with 2 entrances. There is a door to the southeast and another door hiding on the other side of the wall to the northwest. Creeping closer, we see a lot of people inside, but not all of them appear to be hostile. We get charged by only 2 of them. That means the others must be the kidnapped tribals. I made the mistake of using area of effect weaponry to attack these raiders. Even though I was outside the building, my shotgun accidentally clipped some of the tribals, turning all of them hostile. I, of course, didn't want to lose out on Brotherhood recruits, so I reloaded another save. This time I equipped Oxhorn and Farsight with hunting rifles. We raced inside and took out 1 raider pretty quickly. The other guy ran to the southern exit. We had to chase him down. He had a pistol, 3 stim packs, healing powder, and ammunition on his inventory. The first guy had a pipe wrench, stim packs, and a first aid kit. With the raiders dead, we see that the tribals are thanking us profusely. None of them are talking heads, but they say, "Thank you so much. Thank the Brahmin. I wasn't scared. That was close. My tribe and family owes you thanks." Before leaving this captive hut, we can loot a workbench against the northern wall. Here we find a lock-picking kit, a plunger, a scalpel, and a crowbar. We can then leave the shack through a doorway to the north. We immediately find a tent that at first appeared to be empty, but due to the strange phasing nature of enemies in this game, we quickly discovered a raider to the south, on his inventory is some 9mm ammunition and a spear gun with a handful of spear gun bolts. This is the only spear gun in the entire game. It's considered a rifle, and it has the lowest damage of any other rifle in the game. We also can't buy any more ammunition for this weapon. The bolts that drop on this raider are all the bolts we can ever use for this weapon. In this hut, there is only 1 container to loot, a shelf against the northern wall with mentats and shotgun shells. After looting this shelf, a raider appeared to the south. He ran straight towards the captive shack. I sent Oxhorn down to intercept, but she kept running into the shack. I sent Farsight on the pursuit. The raider hid among the tribals for a moment before racing out the southern door. And it was here we finally killed her. On her inventory was a hunting rifle and ammunition. Heading back north, we can regroup with Stitch. We can only move northwest in this large fenced-off area. Here we pass a well that we can't interact with, and we find another guard hut surrounded by a barbed wire barricade. But we can peer through the windows of this guard hut, and using Farsight's hunting rifle and a couple of pistols, we manage to pick him off. We can open a door in the eastern side of the building to enter. On the body of the raider is a set of brass knuckles, another Beretta Silverhawk shotgun, and hunting rifle ammunition. Then, in a crate to the north, we find a huge stack of shotgun shells, Molotov cocktails, booze, stimpaks, broken glass, and hunting rifle ammunition. Using the same key that we got from the guardhouse earlier, we can unlock the northern door. We arrive in a large street. We find an intersection to the south, blocked off with barbed wire and being patrolled by raiders. There is an abandoned parking lot to the north. At the time, I thought I could set up an ambush here, leave Farsight and Stitch, and lure in the raiders with Oxhorn. But it didn't work very well. There was one raider to the south, but he kept hiding behind these barrels. I managed to kill him with Oxhorn alone. Then there is another raider hiding against the wall to the north. He didn't move, he just stood there with a pistol shooting at me. So again, I just took him out with Oxhorn. On this first raider, we find a pipe melee weapon, another Colt 45, and ammunition. Then, moving the entire party south, we can loot the other raider. We find an SMG, but immediately we come under fire by raiders in a ruin to the south. I didn't see them. Backing away, we can take a look at the lay of the landscape and see where to move from here. We find a ruin to the northeast, and it's out of line of sight from the raiders in this building. So moving north, we can navigate the barbed wire barricades and move through a break in the brick wall to find shelter in this ruin. Now here's where things got tricky. I found that pathing was very difficult in this spot. I tried a number of times to send Farsight to one entrance and Oxhorn to the other, and then have them charge in from both sides simultaneously. But in practice, Farsight would get confused and then run outside, or Oxhorn would get confused and run down a hallway. It was just really difficult to control these guys. But despite that, I finally succeeded by having Farsight lure their fire, while Oxhorn went all the way around and came in the rear entrance. He finished them off with his shotgun. But this was a bloody encounter. I barely got away. Both Farsight and Oxhorn were severely wounded. On one raider, we find a pistol, a switchblade, and some stimpaks. On another, we find a bladed punch, a hunting rifle, stimpaks, and ammunition. And then in a crate to the north, we find a first aid kit, 2 grenades, and some ammunition. It was time for Stitch to shine. Using his doctor bag and some stimpaks, he was able to heal up the entire party. From here, we find a pass in a broken wall to the southeast, which leads us further into the ruin. We see a platform above us, once part of the second floor of this structure, surrounded on all sides with sandbag barricades. This gives us the impression that a sniper may be on that perch, so I sent in Oxhorn alone, armed with his shotgun. He found a ladder, climbed to the top, and sure enough, found a sniper. On his body was a hunting rifle, stimpaks, and ammunition. Moving down, we find another hole in the wall, allowing us to further explore the ruin. And here we find a number of raiders patrolling the ruins. This guy had brass knuckles and a stimpak. Moving Stitch into the ruin, we see another enemy flash briefly in the middle of the map. So charging in, he turns tail to run, but he doesn't get far before we mow him down. On his body was a switchblade, another pistol, ammunition, 2 stimpaks, and a new consumable, Afterburner Gum. It grants us 2 action points, 1 strength, and 1 perception, but it has a 50% addiction rate if we take 3 doses too close together. After 3 days, the positive effects wear off and we lose 2 action points, 3 strength, and 3 perception. This penalty disappears after a further 2 days. Continuing east, we enter the remains of a large room where we find 2 more raiders standing by a shelf. We push them out into the hallways where we pick them off one by one. One raider had a hunting rifle, ammunition, and a stim pack, and the other raider had a pistol, ammunition, and a stim pack. Frustratingly, none of the closets, shelves, or desks in this room are lootable. To fully explore this ruin, we continue to the southeast. Here we find a break in the wall where we can chase down a dog. We find a small gap in a wall to the southwest which allows us to leave this ruin. We find one raider waiting for us in a small shack. The raider we just killed had a Bowie knife, an SMG, and ammunition. And then moving south, we find what appears to be a primary raider hut in the middle of the camp. Before heading inside, we can clear the 2 raiders that are patrolling just outside the raider shack. On one, we find a spiked club, another shotgun, and ammunition, but then I had to chase down the second guy. On his inventory was a Mauser pistol, a switchblade, and more ammunition. By this time, all 3 of my party members had been slightly wounded, so I had Stitch stitch them up a bit before entering this main hut. Moving towards the hut, I decided to leave Stitch outside. Heading inside, we find the entrance blocked off by a wall, and we can't see how many enemies are on the other side of this wall. Leaving Farsight here, I sent Oxhorn around the corner.
Well, looky here. I don't recall giving out invites to Brotherhood of Steel Dogs. I bet my boss will give me all the promotion and props I need after I bring him some Brotherhood slaves. Let's see what you trained monkeys can show little old Horus.
All the raiders in Horus's tent open fire on Oxhorn. Using the shotgun, we take out the nearest raider pretty quickly, and then we can retreat to safety on the other side of the wall. The raiders don't follow us out. This is handy, as we can use this wall as a place to retreat to and heal up if things get dicey. We saw 2 of the raiders run to the middle of the hut, so I sent Farsight around one corner to lure their fire. Then with shotgun in hand, I sent Oxhorn to the middle of the tent to take them both out. Back to the other side of the wall. We can heal up with Stitch. Then, when fully healed, we can just sort of charge inside. If we kill Horus before killing the rest of his raiders, we miss out on dialogue. So, focusing on the other raiders first, we can take them out until...
I may have underestimated your abilities. Oh, wipe that grin off your face. Your Brotherhood is no different from us. We both take what we want from these savages. If you think your cause is any more selfless than ours, you're sadly mistaken.
Fine words, Horus, but they won't save your life.
You've completed the objectives for this mission. Proceed to the exit grid to leave this mission.
Thanks, General. But first, we loot. On Horus's body, we find another Colt 45, some buff-out, ammunition, a butcher knife, and a key to the exit. There is a chest right next to his corpse. Here we find more of that gum. On one raider, we find a hunting rifle, a Bowie knife, and ammunition. And while looting a chest in the western corner, where we find some stim packs, we hear the sounds of a raider sneaking around by the wall just outside. So the place isn't clear yet. Heading to the middle of the tent, we can loot more bodies. On one, we find another punch knife, SMG, and ammunition. On another, we find a hunting rifle and ammunition. And we can loot a second chest against the northern wall. But it's locked. But the key we just got does not unlock it. So we have to use our lockpicking skill. Oxhorn didn't have very good lockpicking, but Farsight at least has a 25% chance. So it's just a bit of persistence. I did the attempt a number of times before Farsight was finally successful, but we are only rewarded with 2 stim packs. A little disappointing. With Horus dead and the main hut clear, we can finish exploring Brahmin Wood. Heading out and moving north, we find another Brahmin pasture with emaciated Brahmin. And then, knowing where that other raider was hiding, we can sneak through an alleyway between Horus's tent and a wall to get the jump on him. He had a hunting rifle and ammunition. Moving south, we go all the way around Horus's tent to arrive in the field where we chased down those raiders before. This is a dead end. There's nothing else here. We need to find the door out, and the door is in the southeastern wall. We can use the key we found in Horus's tent to unlock the door. And that's all the enemies. Now to reconnect with the tribals. We can start by heading to the ruin to the southwest to meet up with the shaman.
My friends, I understand that you have done our people a service. For that, I thank you. One of the spirits has told me where to find some small magic that may be of use to you in your journeys. I have retrieved the healing powder that it may be yours. But remember, the healing comes at a price, as your perception will suffer. Here, take it. And go with my blessings.
And with that, he gives us some healing powder. Then we can move east, then back south across the bridge to check in with Charon.
Your grace in battle is wondrous to behold, Initiate. The death screams of the bandits reminded me of angels singing. They will think twice before attacking this village again. Initiate, you defended my people as fiercely as a deathclaw protects her cubs. Please accept this ancient gift from us. You are now considered family in my humble village. And of course, all the recruits will be delivered to your base as agreed. Well done. You have our thanks.
The ancient gift he is talking about is a remote detonator. But it's really no use to us right now, as we need a trap that this remote detonator detonates first before we can use it. To continue, we can head to the exit grid. There are a few other things we could have done here. We could have killed the tribals. If we did, we would have found ring pulls on their inventories, which is similar to bottle caps, used as currency, and a bunch of rocks. However, if we killed Charon, the Elder, we failed the mission. And if we fail the mission, it's like getting a game over, and we get exiled from the Brotherhood. If we didn't save the tribal hostages, we still get tribal recruits after the mission, but we only get half of what we would have gotten. And of course, we could have lost either Stitch or Farsight. Companions do have permadeath in this game, and if we would have lost them, General Barnaky would not have been pleased. But everyone survived. We can move to the exit grid and prepare for a debrief.
Mission complete, warrior. You have dealt with the raiders without hesitation and without mercy. Well done. Every defeat we hand them lessens their numbers and increases our realm of influence. The primitives you saved will be thankful and fearful of the Brotherhood in the future. This is important since the village must learn to live by our strict rules and thus be free. I have to admit it's been a while since an initiate performed so solidly in his first mission. The fact that your actions prevented the loss of a single primitive's life speaks volumes of your ability. To show their respect, they renamed their Brahmin stud after you. The Brotherhood, however, will look favorably on you for your next review. You're dismissed.
Oh, great. So there's a Brahmin stud in Brahmin Wood called Oxhorn. Cool. As we leave the exit grid, we arrive on the world map. From here, we could explore a bit, but so that we don't get lost, and so that we can restock, we'll head to Bunker Alpha. This is where we started the game. It's the bunker the Brotherhood sent us from on our way to Brahmin Wood, and it is here we return to celebrate our victory. Here at Bunker Alpha, we can restock and fill out our squad with more Tribal and Brotherhood recruits. We'll fully explore Bunker Alpha, outfit our squad, and embark on our next mission in my next episode. I publish new videos every single week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss that episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already, but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products too, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members and patrons on Patreon are becoming increasingly important as YouTube continues to make platform changes that make the future of YouTube monetization uncertain. So to all of my YouTube members and my patrons on Patreon, you have my sincerest thanks. I couldn't do this without you. Now, a quick note on Fallout Tactics. For those of you familiar with Fallout lore, you will have noticed that already at the very beginning of the game, we have come upon story elements that are contrary to established Brotherhood lore. The Brotherhood did not emerge from a vault, for example. I do want to tackle these inconsistencies at a later date, and at that time we'll talk about how much of Fallout Tactics could be considered canonical. We know that some of it is considered canonical, as the events that happen here in Fallout Tactics were referenced by Scribe Rothschild during the events of Fallout 3, and by Lancer Knight Captain Kells aboard the Pridwin during the events of Fallout 4. But these events were only alluded to. They didn't talk about any of the details. And so with this series, we'll explore the entire story of Fallout Tactics and discover exactly how much of it we can believe. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you look forward to this series, and I'll see you soon with more lore videos and more live streams.
Greetings, warrior. I am Celsius, healer and scribe. You may return to the bunker for healing anytime you wish, for as long as our resources hold out. But try to stay out of here if you can.